that the remote learning environment and transition to remote learning starts to become less and less. My name's Jen Pry. I'm the Director of Academics and Virtual Academy Principal. I'm super honored to be here today to get everybody on board for what our goal is to be just a short, roughly 10-day shutdown. We'll see what happens, of course, as health conditions change. Health and student safety is health of our student and staff safety is obviously of utmost importance. Little bit of background about me. I through the outset of the pandemic, I was lucky enough to run a high school at the end of during the pandemic, and of which 100% of my students, both in class of 2020 and class of 2021, graduated with all course requirements, both state and our local charter school, and also had dual credit under their belt as well. So finding a silver lining in a very tough environment for students is something that I definitely feel very passionate about and have worked really hard to make sure that we have the best environment possible. It in no way takes the place of the socialization and in-person learning. However, in this post-pandemic world, we're learning. Remote work and remote instruction is going to be super important to us. As we get started today, make sure all of your questions get put in the chat box. We will also, Francesca and Mr. Sean will answer those as they come in. In addition, we will also do a brief translation in Spanish right about 9:20, 9:30. All right, let's get started. Important dates for you to remember. January 18th. January 17th is our Martin Luther King holiday. Tuesday, January 18th is our mandatory drive-through tech and supply pickup. When you arrive to school between 9 and noon, you're going to be given 5 things. You're going to be issued a school device based on a grade level. Grades Kinder and 1 will receive a version of an iPad or tablet. Grades 2 through 8 will receive a Chromebook. Basic school supplies will also be issued to be successful, to include a composition book, notebook, or a pencil, and a whiteboard. In addition, you'll be able to sign up for internet assistance and food assistance. At 12 o'clock on the 18th, I will be hosting with our tech coach, Mr. Heitzman, an in-person tutorial in Parent University of what we learned today. If you need direct side-by-side coaching, yes, I apologize, pre-K will also be issued. The Parent University at 12 o'clock will be side by side with someone to help you log in. At 3 o'clock, you're going to log into your student's Google account and accept all of the Google Classroom invitations. We're going to go over those instructions here in just a few minutes. On January 19th will be your first day of online learning. The first earliest tentative return date right now is January 31st. We'll make local decisions and finalize those as we get closer to the 31st. Couple of frequently asked questions. Reporting absences is the same procedure we call the front office. New this time, I believe this is new to Turquoise Trail. Your student will have a teacher of some kind live providing synchronous instruction every day during all class periods, unless otherwise notified in Remind and or the Google Classroom stream. In addition to that, those students in the virtual academy, there is no change in their schedule. They continue on as normal. Google Classroom safety has come a long way over the course of the pandemic. I cannot stress this enough. Using our school issued device is preferred. If you have a device at home that you would prefer to use, that is okay. We cannot help you problem solve as easy as if you use the school issued device. However, what I can assure you, if you access Google from any device, regardless, you must sign in using your student's Turquoise Trail account. Okay? I'm going to say that one more time. You must log into Google, your Google profile, using your student's Turquoise Trail account. That way, we have internal monitoring on our Chromebooks to help keep your students safe. All of your students are pretty averse and really good. We're one-to-one in our classrooms right now, so they should know their username and password. Younger students will be issued their username and password in their packets when they go home. But again, the standard nomenclature is your student's first name, last name, @ttschool.org. The password is your student's school ID, preceded with 3 zeros, as my example shows there. Okay? In order to enter Google Classroom effectively, you must log into Google using your Turquoise Trail account. I have provided a screenshot there. Again, this handout will be provided on at the end of today on all of our platforms, and also at pickup with your student's schedule. Logging into Google Classroom. This link will provide you right away to the Google Classroom platform, or you simply go to the waffle and click on the Google Classroom icon. Once inside that Google Classroom dashboard on Tuesday afternoon, you accept the invitations that your teachers are working hard to invite all your students to now. Or you can use the Google Classroom codes that are given to you at the scheduled pickup. Both are the same. If for some reason you're missing an invitation, no stress. That Google Classroom code to your teacher's Google Classroom will be provided to you at pickup. To accept an invitation from your teacher, that dashboard will look like this, okay? Middle school will have several of those. Elementary school will have 1 or 2. Once you do that, you're going to click join on all of the new Google Classrooms. Last year's Google Classrooms will not work as we've had staff transition, etc. Okay. If you have a teacher that is currently active in Google Classroom communicating home with you, that likely will not change. You still, right around 3 o'clock, want to log in and see if there is a new Google Classroom to join. Again, if you are still confused or it doesn't match your schedule that you were issued at 9 o'clock that morning, no stress. Use the Google Classroom codes as the second option. How do I do that? You just simply click the plus button on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Click Join the Class. And the code that appears on your schedule, will be the code that you enter here. And then you click Join. And then you are ready to go just like we were back up here. New to Google this year, once your student is ready to go and join their Google Classroom, they simply click on the classroom for their dashboard for that class period. And then they find the Google Meet. That Google Meet link is no longer needed to be posted or emailed to you or anything like that. We are going to access the Google Meet link right underneath the teacher's label in what we call the banner. This is the Google Classroom banner. The Google Meet link will be posted right there. For safety purposes, please note, this link will appear 5 minutes before the start of the class period in your student's Google Classroom banner. And then it will disappear at the end of the day. This is so that, gotta love middle school students, right? And kids, they can no longer open up their own Google Meet links through our domain using our own Google Classrooms. The teachers will close those and open those at the beginning of every
school. This is Francesca.
At the beginning of every class. Okay. I'm going to go to the chat box and see if there are any questions.
Ms. Pry, there is a request that you repeat your last statement.
Perfect. So this Google Meet link right here at the bottom in the banner will disappear and reappear at the beginning of every class. It'll reappear at the beginning of the class period, 5 minutes before, and then it'll disappear at the end. So that way your students don't have access and they can't create their own Google Meet links anymore in our classrooms. Google has done a really good job of has come a long way in making sure that our students are safe. That students can no longer host their own Meet. Okay. So if you see that, you log in for your teacher, for example, and class starts at 8 o'clock, and you're right there, right at the stroke of 7:55, you might have to refresh your stream, and that Google Meet link will show up. Okay? And then again, our teachers and principals are going to be really diligent about making sure that all of those Meet links are closed for sure by 4 o'clock at the end of every day. Teachers, as they finish a class, are going to get in the routine of closing that Meet link. We also know teachers are super busy, definitely in a transition too. We have lots of expectations, around them during this time. It is possible that in the off chance a teacher forgets, we will do a second run at the end of every day to make sure that those Google Meet links are in fact closed.
There is one question in the chat I could not answer, and that is, did you go over the expected screen time per grade?
Good question. I did not go over the expected screen time for grades. Miss Baining, our elementary school principal, is working really closely with Mary Ellen Dannenberg, our elementary school instructional coach, to make sure we have to make sure we have spaced out screen time and engaged activities and so forth, okay? Couple of instructional questions. I actually see them popping up here in the chat box. As I mentioned in the beginning, you will have a live instructor for the entire class period in which your student is scheduled for, okay? Strategies to keep students engaged include being able to answer questions in things like Nearpod and Seesaw for the upper grades. In addition to that, we are providing Relay Graduate School for training, or Relay's graduate school for online training. We were lucky enough to have them come in and train all of our teachers over the course of the pandemic. That is what we're going to be reviewing for those instructional strategies. Things like Everybody Writes, where the teacher posts a link to a document in the chat box, and your student is required to type to include letter recognition for lower grades, basic addition and subtraction, math facts, etc. Where the student finds their name and answers it in the next box. It's a strategy called Everybody Writes. In addition to that, we're going to learn how to use the emojis, polls, whiteboards, etc. to make sure that all students are engaged. The student will have a do now, an activity at the beginning, and then we'll go through a normal lesson plan to include about 5 to 15 minutes of direct instruction. Then they will go to an independent practice where they will navigate to that using a hyperdoc. It should be right there in the student's assignment. And then they're going to be required to turn in an exit ticket. That exit ticket is really, really important because that helps us monitor that engagement, okay? And it also helps monitor the attendance. Students that need extra support, to include our students with IEPs, 504s, or are just stuck for the day, there will be opportunities that are in that schedule that get picked up where you will be identified for pullouts, etc. Our IEP team just met yesterday and is in the thick of reaching out to teachers and parents and students that need the extra support on what that is going to look like. Good question. The exit ticket. So the exit ticket is literally just the thing that they hand in at the end of the day. It'll be an assignment posted in Google Classroom, labeled exit ticket, with a date. They have to complete that mini assignment. Might be one question, might be a short quiz for the learning for the day. They complete it, they click turn in, and they're done. An IEP is an individualized education plan. You would know if your student has one or not. If we're unclear what an IEP is, probably don't have it. But that's the IEP for students with special education.
I think that's it.
The last piece. Good question, BJ. So how do we keep kids focused to do the homework? That's part of that independent practice and use of things like Flipgrid, Nearpod, and breakout rooms. We will also use breakout rooms to send students. That can be monitored. Will be monitored by teachers to engage in a guided discussion and then come back with cold call strategies and so forth to make sure that they complete their assignment for the day. As far as homework is concerned, unless your student didn't complete the exit ticket for the day, they don't have any homework. All of the materials are provided in class and will be completed in class. Last but not least, communication tools. Our communication tools also have become a long way, okay? That is through the use of Remind through the use of the Google Classroom email in your student's email account, and all teachers will have access to issue you guys Guardian summaries as well. Anna, I appreciate that question for sure. The design of this live synchronous instruction is so you don't have to worry about that. Clearly, younger students who need supervision for safety purposes, unfortunately, that's the space that we're in. If you need assistance, please reach out to your student's principal, and we can see about helping more specific accommodations and so forth. Lorenzo, thank you for that question. Best practice and standards, I will add at the bottom of this document, thank you for that, include a nice quiet space, headphones, and no external distractions, okay? And cameras are on. Jennifer, as far as the screen time is concerned, I hear the concern for sure. I really do. If it becomes an issue, I encourage you to reach out to your principal about engagement inside the classroom. Okay. Our teachers are working really hard. As Regan, one of our brand new special education teachers, just said, we're working really hard to make sure that it's going to be all right. And we've got all the stops ready for just that. Will students be sent home with their headphones? If you need headphones, please make sure you request those upon pickup. Ms. Reyes, did I see you had your hand raised?
For a second.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just want to make sure. No, we appreciate you as well. Yeah, those of you that have large families, multiple people living inside, in your homes and so forth, I see you. I 100% see you. We're all making the best of extraordinary circumstances. If you have any issues whatsoever, please make sure to reach out to your student's principal and or teacher, and we'll be as flexible as needed for sure. Okay. Absolutely, Angela. We talk a lot about this amongst our leadership team, and really walking this really fine line of balance between student health and safety and student academic progress. If in these unprecedented kind of uncertain times, if they're not safe and healthy and in school to learn due to exposures or the actual health conditions themselves, we can't serve the academic progress. So be ensured that we have the space and the capacity to provide the same online, as close to as possible, synchronous instruction will be definitely beneficial, and for sure, as our data in our academy is showing us, it is serving as an intervention, as an academic progress and intervention tool for sure.
Jen, this is Lorenzo.
Lorenzo.
Yes, I just want to say something on behalf of being the newest member of the Governance Council. And as for my comments, I just want to thank you and the staff. I think we're so lucky to have you and be prepared for this. I went through a year of online with my kids in New York before moving to Santa Fe. And I want to thank the parents for being understanding I know this is a particularly hard period, especially a lot of companies are requiring their employees to go back, and it's really kind of tough. So just want to say thank you to everybody for being patient and understanding. I think we're doing a great job here. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Lorenzo. I appreciate that for sure. Emily, one thing that I found with my high school students, and I'm certainly finding with my academy, is exactly what you just talked about. I have 4 students who I'm lucky enough to teach in advisory, and in 6th period, they're outside on the porch, perfectly fine. They start at the breakfast table. No, that's perfectly okay. And then in history, I observed history class. The same 4 students are literally outside, plugged in at the parents' picnic table of some kind, and they're fully engaged. Excellent suggestion. Okay. As long as it's structured and you guys will get in a nice routine, I think you'll appreciate the difference in the schedule too this time around, so that you don't have to so you guys can also kind of get in a little different, little better, more engaged routine as well at home. All right. Thanks, Tasha, for that feedback. Exactly. All right. I'm going to give this back. I'm going to go back to the top. If you need to stay for the Spanish translation, we're going to go ahead and walk through this with Mr. Sean translating. If you do not need to stay for the Spanish translation, we will see you on Tuesday, the 18th.
Ok, ya, este es todo por el parte en inglés. Entonces ahora vamos a hablar y revisarlo en español. Si no se lo necesita en español, ya se puede salir y nos vemos en el martes.
I'll give it one more minute, Sean.
Yep, sounds good. Entonces vamos a esperar por un minuto y vamos a empezar en español.
I will be right back. Sean, do you need help with the chat in Spanish? I'm going to be using Google Translate if you do.
That should be okay. If you have to go, it's totally fine.
I just need to check in with Chris real quick. I'll be right back. And
Yep, totally fine.
if you can explain to those in Spanish to just be patient with me.
No, it's totally fine. I'll keep an eye on both.
Thank you.
I think, Francesca, I got Google Translate open too, so we're good.
Okay, so I think between the 3 of us we'll have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
All right. Let me know, Sean.
I'm ready.
Go for it.
Okay.
You want me? Is it gonna be easier if I say it than you repeat in Spanish?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Okay, entonces vamos a empezar. So do you want to review it, and then I'll just kind of go over in Spanish so that I can kind of copy your cadence?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
So important dates: January 18th from 9 to noon. Mandatory drive-through tech and supply pickup.
Entonces, los datos importantes son el 18 de enero a las 9 hasta 12 Este es cuando los estudiantes y las familias se pueden ir a la escuela para coger sus materiales para estar en línea.
They're going to get 5 things: the school issued device, their school level schedule, basic school supplies, sign up for internet, and food access if needed.
Entonces, ustedes van a recibir 5 cosas. Su computadora para estar en línea, su horario para sus estudiantes, los necesidades básicos que necesitan, entonces, por ejemplo, papel, los lapiceros, cosas así. Asistencia para el internet, si se necesita apoyo con el internet, y también asistencia para la comida. Si usted cree que su familia va a necesitar apoyo con la familia o cosas como así, también se puede poner su nombre en esta lista y vamos a apoyar con dar comida a los estudiantes y las familias aquí.
At 12 o'clock, they'll be able to come to in-person university or in-person tutorial if they need help with their computer. At 3 o'clock, all students will have access to their Google Classrooms in their dashboard.
Okay, where will the in-person tutorial be?
Cafeteria.
Okay, a las 12, ustedes se pueden ir a una tutorial, un entrenamiento sobre de las cosas que están en línea y cómo usar la computadora, cosas así. Y este va a estar en la cafetería. A las 3, ustedes se pueden entrenar en su cuenta de Google por su estudiante y se puede aceptar las clases de Google Classroom.
January 19th will be our first day of online learning.
El 19 de enero vamos a empezar con con los primeros clases de aprendizaje en línea.
January 31st, tentative return date to school.
Y tenemos el plan a volver a la escuela en el 31 de enero, pero este es tentativo. No estamos seguros todavía si vamos a volver en el 31 de enero. Vamos a revisar esto cada día, depende en lo que está pasando con el COVID y cosas así, pero por ahora estamos diciendo el 31 de enero.
Couple of frequently asked questions. Reporting absences, same procedure. Call the front office.
Por las ausencias, esto va a ser lo mismo. Si su estudiante, su hijo va a tener una ausencia, hay que llamar a la oficina.
You'll have a live teacher in every class period every day unless otherwise notified.
Cada estudiante va a tener un maestro en vivo cada clase, cada día, aunque nos cambiamos este plan, entonces vamos a comunicar con ustedes, pero cada día van a tener un maestro por cada clase.
Quiet spaces and routines for your student are essential to the success.
No sabemos que es difícil para algunas familias, pero es importante que los estudiantes tienen un espacio que no tiene mucho ruido y también que se quedan con su horario. Entonces, se necesita un espacio calma para estudiar y estar en su clase en línea. Y las cámaras tienen que estar apagadas, tienen que estar, se necesitan las cámaras.
Cameras must be turned on, and the exit ticket must be turned in at the end of every class period.
Y cada clase, los estudiantes se necesitan dar al maestro un exit ticket. Es un boleto de salida. Y es solo una hoja o una cosa que se necesitan mostrar al maestro para demostrar que estaba participando en la clase. Entonces, cada clase, en el fin de la clase, si el día o en la clase, los estudiantes se necesitan llenar su boleto de salida, su exit ticket.
Quiet spaces and routines are essential for their success.
Cool. We went over that.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. How to access your student's account. They must use their student's username and password, which are located here.
Se necesita usar su username y código. Su username está aquí. Va a ser su primer nombre, su apellido, at ttschool.org. Y su password va a ser su identificación de estudiante, su número de estudiante.
You must be in your student's Turquoise Trail account to enter Google Classroom.
Se necesita estar en la cuenta de su estudiante para entrar la clase. Entonces, antes que los estudiantes se puedan entrar las clases, se necesitan ir por el Google.
Once inside Google Classroom, they navigate to find the Google Classroom icon to log in.
Cuando están en la clase de Google, se necesitan buscar este icon, esta cosa que se puede ver aquí para entrar a la clase.
Once inside the Google Classroom dashboard, as shown in this picture, you click the blue Join button to join your Google Classrooms.
Y después de esto, ustedes van a ver esto. Van a ver lo que estamos viendo aquí. Para entrar, tienen que hacer un clic en este button, en este azul que está en el derecho.
If for some reason the join button is missing, they will be able to join using the code provided on the schedule provided for them on Tuesday.
Si no se puede ver este button, esta cosa azul, se puede entrar a clase con su código que ustedes van a recibir por su correo y también en el martes cuando se van a coger sus cosas para la escuela. Entonces, si se tiene este código, se puede entrar a la clase también, en esta manera también.
The Google Meet link is very secure now.
Google Meet ahora está muy seguro.
When you click on your student's classroom, you navigate to find the Google Classroom Meet link for that particular class as shown right there with the red arrow.
Y cuando se entra a su clase para su estudiante, se puede entrar a la clase mismo por hacer un clic en este link que se puede ver aquí.
That Meet link will appear 5 minutes before the start of class time.
Ustedes van a ver este link 5 minutos antes de se empieza la clase.
And then it will disappear by the end of the day to keep your students safe.
Y este link se va en el fin del día para que podamos mantener la seguridad de la clase y los estudiantes.
Instruction will be very engaging using interactive tools like Whiteboard, Nearpod, and Seesaw to engage your students.
Vamos a utilizar muchas herramientas en Google Classroom. Por ejemplo, what were some of the names of those? Nearpod.
Seesaw.
Okay, el Seesaw.
And what should you call it?
Google Classroom tools.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Entonces, todo de eso son herramientas que están en Google Classroom. Entonces, los estudiantes van a usar muchas cosas diferentes en la clase en línea.
Okay. I believe that finishes all essential information. What questions do they have? They can put it in the chat box.
Entonces, esta es toda la información más importante. Yo sé que no hablo perfecto, entonces si tiene pregunta o lo que sea, se puede ponerlo en el chat. Y vamos a dar respuestas si tienen preguntas o lo que sea. ¿Hay preguntas? So, are we starting at the same time for classes?
Yes. Elementary school starts at 7:50. Middle school starts at 8:10.
Sí, la misma, vamos a empezar en la misma hora. Entonces, por el middle school van a empezar a 8:10 y por el elementary school van a empezar a las 7:50. Es lo mismo.
¿Y para pre-kinder?
Disculpa.
¿Para pre-kinder?
Sí.
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 Para pre-K es también de 8 a 10.
It's like at 8:10 for pre-K as well, right?
Yes, same
Yeah,
start
sí.
time for pre-K.
Todo es lo mismo. Y también, and we're going to end at the same time too, right, Jen?
Correct.
Sí, todo es lo mismo. Las horas de entrar y de salir están lo mismo.
Oh, muy bien, muchas gracias.
Gracias a usted. ¿Hay más? Okay.
All right.
Bueno, entonces, muchas gracias a ustedes. Gracias por su paciencia con nosotros. Gracias por estar en esta lucha que estamos. No sabemos que es difícil para muchas familias. Entonces, estamos aquí para ustedes. Cualquier pregunta, cualquier cosa se puede llamar y vamos a poner toda la atención que se necesita para que podamos ser un éxito en estas semanas que vienen.